Well, if you like offense and chaos, this was the game for you. Unfortunately, the Mariners found themselves on the wrong side of the result. Let's talk about it here on the Locked On Mariners postgame show. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Friday, April 4th, 2025. This is Tiding Gonzalez and Colby Patnett for the Locked On Mariners postgame show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And as always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out is click the link in the description of this episode. So first and foremost, why is Ty not looking at the camera? Who cares? First and foremost, shut up in the comments. I've had a night trying to get this recording set up, but I've had to go through two different cameras. I'm now on my crappy laptop camera, so that's where we're at this point. Deal with it. Sorry. Yeah, I know. I need to rein it in. I'm also maybe a little bit peeved that I just watched 4+ hours of baseball only to watch the Mariners lose.
But aren't you glad it's over, Ty, an hour ago?
Yeah, I am a bit glad that it's over. The Mariners get walked off 10-9 this afternoon, well, now it's nighttime for me. They get walked off in extras. A lot happened in this game. I don't even know where to begin with this one. There was just so much. We're not even going to be able to get to all of it in the show. The Mariners' offense was mostly great. I mean, last 5 or so innings, not so much, but I mean,
they scored 9. We're not going to nitpick the offense.
Yeah. They scored 9 runs. They did more than enough to win this ball game. You know, this game started out with all right, well, they're starting a spot starter in Luis F. Castillo, who's making his first career major league start. Nerves are probably at an all-time high for him just because of that reason alone. Then you factor in it's, the atmosphere is crazy at Oracle Park today because it's the home opener for the Giants. So that even adds a little bit more electricity to the event for Castillo. So you think all right, probably going to lose because of that. You kind of survive it. I mean, the offense produces like we talked about. So you're able to stay in the game despite Castillo's shaky start. He only goes 3 innings. And then the narrative kind of switches to, they're probably going to lose this game because Dan Wilson is really stretching out these relievers like Colin Snyder and Edward Bizardo and really giving them a ton of leash, which backfired in a couple of instances. And then finally, it comes down to, the Mariners are getting screwed by Sean Barber again in the month of April. Roenis Elias says hi. So... yeah, I mean, there wasn't one particular thing that led to this loss. It was just a culmination of everything. And at the end of it, you were 1 out away from still winning this ball game, which I think says a lot, especially about what the offense did today as a whole. But like I said, I don't know how much we're actually going to be able to get to from this game because it was just so much. 30 plus combined hits, 19 combined runs, 400 some odd pitches, I think, combined between the two teams. They basically used every arm available to them, both of them. It was wild. What are your thoughts coming out of this one, Colby?
Just wondering if Sean Barber might be a war criminal. Is that something we could maybe...
Confirmed. Yeah. I think it's safe to confirm that. Yeah.
What's really annoying about that, aside from obviously the loss, is that we've been very critical of Vargas making the team and all that. And he absolutely saved you on Monday night and pitched very well.
Yep.
And then today he actually pitched extraordinarily well considering the circumstances, and he still gets tagged for the loss. Despite striking out, the first 3 hitters he faced, it would have been his first career save. He had Sam Huff struck out. Umpire missed the call.
Yep.
He had Fitzgerald struck out on a perfect pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Umpire missed the call. And then he went and he struck out Wade. So in all reality, in all practicality, in a just world, Vargas went 1-2-3 and struck out the side with the tying run on second base in the 11th inning. And instead, we get basically a swinging bunt out of it, and then we get a walk out of it. And then we still get the strikeout, and then we get the really cheap single by Adames, who you watch the replay, literally got it right off the end of the bat. Robles couldn't get out of his glove. Not a great day for the Mariners defense. So, yeah, little things like that add up. And it's just a bummer because, again, Vargas pitched so incredibly well. And now, the Mariners they use their entire bullpen. There's going to be 2 or 3 guys who just aren't going to be available for the rest of the series, and they're going to have to make some roster moves, you would think. Vargas is probably one of the guys on the chopping block, and it might end up being, he might get screwed more than once in this series. So it's just a real bummer the way that ended because it was an awesome game, very entertaining, one of the games of the year. Already, I mean, it will be at the end of the year. It'll be right up there with any of the other ones, but just a bummer, man, because they really battled, and the F in Luis F. Castillo does not stand for fun, but he battled.
What does it stand for, Colby?
So Saucedo just stinks. No. Well, there's a lot of Sauce fans out there, but he's been garbage this year. Like, there's just no denying it. You need to accept it.
Yeah.
And he does have an option left. So you can send him to Tacoma and not lose him. So he thinks he needs to work out. He was dreadful today. Colin Snyder has been really iffy this year, which is, again, part of the reason we talk about, like, yeah, you might have another high leverage arm in Colin Snyder.
Yeah.
You might not.
Yeah.
Levers are fit. You don't know what you're going to get. And
on Snyder, like, we can talk all we want about the Polanco tag or non-tag on Lamont Wade Jr., but Snyder still gave up that triple in the gap to Lamont Wade, and then he hung that breaking ball in the middle of the plate
1-2 slider,
Adames for the go-ahead run in that inning. So
yeah, wouldn't have mattered if Polo knew how to tag, which you would think as a second baseman he would, but whoops. I mean, Snyder was bad, and then Bizzardo was okay, and then
on Snyder, though, Snyder was asked to throw 43 pitches today, or 45 pitches, whatever it was, his career.
Pretty sure
high.
He threw like 30 on Monday. So
yeah, like that's just too much being asked of him by Dan Wilson. Like, I'm not trying to let Snyder off the hook for the 2 mistakes that he made there in that inning, the one to Wade and the one to Adames, but still, that's just so much that you're asking of a guy, especially, again, like you said, when he had already thrown 30 some odd pitches against the Tigers like 4 days ago.
Yeah, this is why I wasn't a big fan of their decision to bullpen today, essentially, because they had already done that on Monday without meaning to. I mean, they weren't planning to do it on Monday, but they did it. They had to do it.
You didn't necessarily have to do this. I know that Castillo was lined up to throw today,
right?
But you could have, you ended up pushing Miller and Wu starts back a day in order to have Castillo pitch in this game, whereas you could have just pushed Castillo back 2 days and had him pitched on Sunday, or just push him back a day and then push Wu back a day and had him pitch tomorrow. Right.
Or you could have just skipped this spot entirely and had an extra reliever on hand just in case. So, it felt like in a sea of not great options, the Mariners somehow found a way to pick the dumbest one. And it bit them today, and now their bullpen probably busted for the next couple days. I mean, obviously, Snyder's not going to be available for the rest of this series. Bizzardo probably not either. And I'm not telling you Bizzardo was great. I'm saying this is probably the most questionable decision from Dan for me. You have a 2-run lead now at this point. You have 6th inning, 7th inning, 8th inning, 9th inning, 4 innings to go. And oh, by the way, you do have Santos, Spire, Munoz, and Thornton. Those are the 4 guys that you trust more than any of the guys in your pen. It's weird that you have Thornton number 2, but whatever. Like, those are your guys, right? So why are you sending Bizzardo back out there with a 2-run lead? That's literally the perfect time to use Trent Thornton. 2-run lead in the 6th. Yeah. Let's use Thornton there. And now we can go Spire in the 7th, or whenever the lefties come up. Now we can go Santos in the 8th, and we can go Munoz in the 9th. And it was laid out perfectly for you. And Dan, galaxy brained himself. And it cost him. It ended up costing them, and it's just a bummer too because Spire was awesome today. Like that dude is your second best reliever. It's not close. It's not close. Thornton, I'd say survived, but he got incredibly lucky again. Thornton has appeared in 4 games. He's blown 2 of them, and the other 2 he's left absolute hanging cookies that he's gotten away with. That would have lost games. So he's been dreadful as well. And then Gregory Santos comes in and he creates a high leverage situation, an even higher leverage situation than he entered the game in, and he gets out of it. Wow, imagine that. A guy with stuff getting out of a tough jam. Wow. Wow. I mean, who would have ever foreseen that as a possibility? No, you got to go Trent Thornton with his average stuff. Whatever. Munoz comes in and shoves. And like I said, Vargas was good. He was really good. He should have struck out the side. In fact, he did. It's just the home plate umpire is blind. And so he ends up getting tagged for the loss. So you look at it and you say, look, man, Santos was good eventually. Took a couple hitters, but he was good.
Yeah.
Spire was great. Munoz was great. Yeah. Start using these guys in the appropriate roles, and things look a little bit different today. So it's just one of those things where, yeah, you know what? Sean Barber, public enemy number 1. Absolutely. That's fine. You shouldn't left Dan Wilson off the hook though. And we're not even talking about his decision to bunt with runners on first and second and nobody out to play for 1 run when your offense is cooking. Like, by the way, did that work? No. Wow. What? They intentionally walked Julio? Who could have foreseen that? So, yeah, Dan Wilson was dreadful today. The formerly relied upon guys from last year's bullpen, Saucedo, Snyder, Bizzardo to a certain extent, they were bad today. Yeah. And it cost you. And your high leverage guys were pretty darn good. And Thornton's not a high leverage guy, so don't count him in there. So just a bummer because, again, it laid out perfectly for Dan. Like, this is idiot proof. Thornton in the 6th, Spire in the 7th, Santos in the 8th, Munoz in the 9th, game over. Mm-hmm. And he still fumbled the bag. He still messed it up. Like, that's as idiot proof as it gets. And he found a way to screw it up. Dan Wilson's not good at this, so we shouldn't let him off the hook just because the umpire is blind as well.
He's had a really bad first 8 games.
Yes.
Start the year. Yeah. And it's one thing for us to say this. It's another when his friend and former colleague up in the booth, Aaron Goldsmith, is like openly questioning what's happening for the second time this season already in 8 games.
Right. It's one of those things too, where it's like, I understand it's a collaborative effort, but Dan still has to have a feel. He has to have a pulse for how the game is going, right? Like, there's the plan, and then there's what actually is happening in front of you. Mm-hmm. And what's happening in front of you with your own eyes, that you're seeing with your own eyes, is more important than sticking to the plan. So Scott was really bad at this at the beginning too, and he still was kind of at the end, but you have to adapt and you have to look at it and say, like, look, this isn't how we thought this was going to play out, but this is how it played out. And so we need to adjust on the fly here. It just feels like Dan is not confident in that because, again, it's like automatic. Trent Thornton is going in the game in the 8th inning. Munoz will only pitch if he has a lead. Like, I was honestly a little surprised he pitched in the 10th because Dan Wilson looks like he's managing this bullpen where it's like, these are your roles and we're never going to change them. And that's stupid.
It also kind of feels like managing which, look, as a manager, you have to be predictive to a certain degree with your bullpen decisions. But it does feel like he was playing for innings and situations that might not wind up existing.
Right. Using Santos in the 9th to try and save Munoz for a save situation.
Yeah.
That's questionable. Like, you trust him to pitch the 9th, but you don't trust him if he has a 1-run lead in the 10th. That's weird.
So we'll pick this conversation back up in just a second and also talk about the offense because we need to talk a lot about the offense and give them their just due. They were awesome for the most part today.
Yeah.
In just a moment, but first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Supply House and Just Ingredients. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online.
Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. I love that Just Ingredients prioritizes wholesome, nourishing ingredients without the artificial junk. Visit justingredients.us and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow @just.ingredients on Instagram.
And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners postgame show following the Mariners 10-9 loss in extras to the San Francisco Giants. Still a really good day for the offense, and we'll talk about them in just a second. But hey, our giveaway is finally officially over. We would still love for you to, leave a comment down below. Would love to hear from you. Would love to have you subscribe and all that good stuff. We will pick the winner and announce the winner of our grand prize, I believe, on Monday's show. So look forward to that. So just wanted to mention that real quick before we move on, in case you guys were wondering when we're exactly doing that. So yeah, let's talk about this offense, Colby. I think it was 19 hard hit balls on the day. Let's see here. 6, 7, 8, 11, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18 hard hit balls for the Mariners. They end up getting 9 runs on 15 hits today. I mean, they were awesome, right? I mean, from the 7th inning onward, they struggled to drive runs across the plate. Their last run of the day came on a wild pitch in the 11th inning. But like you said at the start of the show, we're not going to nitpick here. This offense did more than enough to win this ball game. They got let down by, other aspects of the ball club and some outside elements like we covered in the first segment. What were your thoughts on the bats today?
And in an 11 inning game, they only struck out 8 times.
That's also really good.
Yeah, they walked 7 times. They hit 2 home runs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a good point right there, right? They didn't rely on the long ball to generate offense today.
No, I mean, they had 2 home runs, and then they had 13 singles. It was they kept the line moving. It wasn't just we're going to hit a home run and then hopefully we walk and we hit another home run and home run ball still played a big role. Polanco had a big one to tie it up or tie it up at 3, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, boy, that felt like
tie it up at 5, I believe.
Yeah. That felt like 10 hours ago. But yeah,
really
but it was a really good day for the offense. And again, we talk about this, right? The strikeouts are the problem. The strikeouts are the problem. Well, when they strike out less than once an inning, that's a good day. And when you see the entirety of, the bullpen of the Giants and you still put the ball in play consistently, that's a pretty good day. Could they have been a little bit better in the later innings? Sure, absolutely. They had a couple opportunities to blow that game open to where, Barber being an idiot wouldn't have mattered. They didn't do it. Okay, I mean, sure, I get that. I mean, they're facing Tyler Rogers and Ryan Walker. Those are really good pitchers. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just one of those things where it's look, they had 15 hits today. They walked 7 times. They stole a couple of bags. You kind of saw everything they had to offer today. And you saw what this offense can potentially do. And it's just a bummer that the 2 times we could say they were really good, the pitching didn't hold up their end of the bargain. Mm-hmm. And so the Mariners are now 0-2 in the 2 games they scored 5 or more runs in. So, it's a bummer. You never can know going into this. It's not like Dan could have known they were going to score 9 today. Maybe he would have managed it differently if they had. Maybe the Mariners would have just skipped this start if they knew that the offense was going to give them 9 and they could kind of cruise to victory.
I
But
mean, he didn't really change his game plan when they were up 8-6.
yeah, I know it was, and he's still constantly playing for 1 run every chance. Let's bunt the guys over. We have a productive out to give, and
it really does. Like, I don't want to make this whole episode just harping on Dan Wilson today, but it does really feel like you lost this game in the 6th inning.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't until we got all the way into extras. Like, when you got up 8-6 and he left Bizzardo in all the way through that inning with Thornton warming up and eventually Spire warming up, and the Giants were able to tie the game back up almost immediately, and you knew it was going to happen, especially right after Chapman hit that leadoff home run. You knew it was going to happen. That felt like the moment that you lost the game. Because when they were up 8-6 and there was the error on the ball that Raleigh put into play, and they score 2 off of that, you're thinking like, oh wow, the momentum has really shifted in their favor. They score 3 in that inning. They were down 6-5. They kept punching back. They were going bar for bar, blow for blow with the Giants. It felt like that was kind of the point there where it's like, all right, now you can put your foot on the gas. You've kind of survived the innings that you had to survive with, Castillo pitching and some of your mid-leverage guys pitching. Now you can go to Santos and Spire and Munoz and just hand the ball to those guys and let them finish this thing off. And instead, you let Bizzardo go that whole inning, and we saw what happened. So that to me just felt like the moment that you lost that game. But I digress. Back to the offense. By the way, this is like the most well lit episode in the history of Locked On Mariners. The lighting on this episode is incredible. If you're not watching, you should just head over to YouTube to see how much of a disaster this is right now.
I don't know.
This might have been
Blair Witch.
Look, I can't remember off the top of my head every single March game that Julio has ever played in his career, but this feels like the best that I've ever seen Julio in a March or April game. He was so dialed in today, and like it started right off the bat with the first pitch fastball that he drove to right field off of Verlander.
I mean, he didn't get the big hit in the 11th, so was he really that good? He just went 3 for 6 with a walk
with 5 hard hit balls.
Yeah. 3 for 6, and by the way, he got robbed of his 4th hit by Adames. Yeah. So,
and then he got his get back on Adames the next at bat.
Mm-hmm. They originally ruled that an error, and I was like, "That is the hardest error."
Was that the hardest hit ball of the entire game?
I don't think so, actually. Yes, it was. Yeah, 111.1. Yeah. And a short hop at 111, and you're like, "That's an error." Like, what? Yeah, what are you talking about?
No.
Like, so yeah.
The one that Raleigh hit to Fitzgerald that Fitzgerald whiffed on, that's an error. But
infield drawn in.
Did they count that as an error?
They did. They did.
Did I misspeak?
Cal still gets an RBI out of it, but it did count as an error, not a hit. So, but yeah, so it was one of those days where really the big disappointment on the offense today was Randy Rosarena, who's been your best hitter for the first 7 games, and today just wasn't good. He did have a hard hit ball, but he was 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. So, it happens. Polanco, dad strength Polanco goes 3 for 5 with the big home run. Also drew a walk. Also had the game tying RBI off of Verlander.
It was, and then he had the lead extender,
right,
to make it 8-6
off of Trevino. Yeah. So yeah, obviously Polanco continues what he's been so far this year, which is very good at the plate. Defensively, work in progress. Let's be nice.
It hasn't been good.
No.
Let's not even beat around the bush. It's been about as bad as we all expected.
Yeah, but he's running like a 200 WRC plus.
Yeah,
so that's the trade-off, right? That's the trade-off.
That is the trade-off. Yeah.
Yes. You'd still probably rather have Polanco with the way he's hitting right now than what you had last year in Rojas. That's the trade-off.
It would be great if you could get to a point with this roster eventually where he's just like DHing, maybe playing some second.
Yeah, maybe. And he might get there. Like that's that kind of probably depends on Ben Williamson. And then maybe after that, what they do at the deadline. but yeah, like that
Yeah,
that would be
I
ideal.
I said this to you on the Patreon show, I think earlier this week. Like, I wonder if we get to a point at sometime down the road, over in the season where, I don't know, we see a tweet before a game and it's like, hey, Jorge Polanco's over at first base, like taking grounders.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
like you definitely want to give him some time to see if he gets better at third, but 8 games in, he's made a questionable play or barely,
Yeah.
made a play that, it's not great. So
Yeah.
we'll see. But Luke Raley also went 2 for 6, a couple hard hit balls for him. Rowdy had a heck of a game defensively.
Yeah.
Like
we were so close to the Rowdy Tellez game, though.
Oh man, he had a screaming line drive right at Wade.
Yeah.
If that had snuck through, it was the Rowdy game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's unfortunate. He only got 3 plate appearances. Dylan Moore actually came in, and he went 1 for 3.
Best hitter on the Mariners by WRC Plus. Well, we'll see after this game.
Right now,
Julio or
Polanco has the higher OPS right now, so we'll see. But Demo has a lot of walks, so that factors in. Ryan Bliss went 1 for 4 today. Kind of another hard day for him, like hard luck day for him. A couple of screamers that got caught, and
no, he had the one that ate up Damas, and he got a single out of it. The other one got caught by Lee. The one that he drove to deep center.
Yeah. Miles Mastroboni almost had our moment. Single.
We were so close. And then Angie said the craziest thing.
We're not going to get there. So,
but if you watch the game, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Angie.
Yeah, and then JP Crawford, another disappointing game for him. Did get a hit and a walk, but he also struck out 3 times, no hard hit balls. Victor Robles, by the way, 2 for 7 for Victor. 1 strikeout.
Jesus.
Yeah, only 1 hard hit ball. I thought Victor had a pretty mediocre day. Also had a really tough time out there, particularly in that last ball that was hit to him. We should also mention Randy Rosarena also dropped a pop-up. I mean, he didn't technically drop it.
He didn't drop it. He just...
Yeah, that counts as a double, by the way. So again, if you want to know how messed up fielding statistics are, that was not an error. That was a double. And it was a fly ball like 10 feet to Randy's left, and he never budged. So yeah, it was a rough day for the Mariners defense overall, particularly in the outfield. But the offense again, 15 hits, 9 runs scored. 13 of those hits, all singles. So would you like to see some more doubles? Sure.
Yeah.
You get 13 singles and a couple homers out of it. Yeah, we don't need to see doubles. We're fine. You take that all day. So the offense was very, very good. Lots of hard hit balls. And I mean, really, they didn't get all that lucky either. The expected batting average for the Mariners today was 342.
Yeah.
So it was just a really good day. They were seeing the ball very well. And, small victory. They chased Verlander after 2 2/3, which weird, but
good decision by Bomel. Might have actually won them the game in hindsight, because like
Bob Melvin's better at this than our manager is.
He Verlander was really struggling, and then who was it? Randy Rodriguez, is that the guy's name?
Dude's filthy.
He came in, he shut that thing down. They had bases loaded, just 1 out. I think if they leave Verlander in, Mariners are probably getting a few more runs out of that situation, and maybe we're having a very different conversation than the one we're having right now. So
we'll see how that quick hook plays out over the course of the rest of the series, because obviously Melvin had to empty out the bullpen after that.
But at the very least, you're kind of even in terms of the bullpen usage.
Probably, yeah.
So yeah, and we'll see about roster moves for both teams, but specifically for the Mariners. All right, so let's wrap up with our closing thoughts here in just a moment. But first, a reminder: this episode of the Locked On Mariners postgame show is brought to you once again by Gametime.
There's nothing like the energy of an MLS match, the chants, the atmosphere, the last minute goals. If you want to experience it all live, Gametime makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLS tickets. Plus, ticket prices actually drop as kickoff gets closer, so you can score amazing seats at a great price. I love that I can see the exact view from my seat before I buy, so there's no surprises when I get to the stadium. Gametime also has event cancellation protection and even job loss assurance so I can buy with confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners post-game show. Again, Mariners drop game 1 of this 3-game series with the Giants by a score of 10-9 in extras today. But quite a few positives to take away from this one, like we've gone over. How about Cal Raleigh stealing third?
Yeah. I mean, allegedly. Whether or not he actually did, who knows? But
he got in there. He got in there.
I think he did too.
Yeah, he got in there.
Yeah. So yeah, Cal stealing third was pretty cool. I mean, also what was pretty cool is how about Cal hustling out of the box and getting to second on the air, which then allowed him to steal third, which then allowed him to score on the other, which he otherwise would not have if he hadn't hustled out of the box. So, Cal didn't do anything spectacular at the plate today. Just 1 for 4. He did walk a couple times, but he had a couple of long at bats. He had 14 pitches off of Verlander, and then he had another 10 pitch at bat that he unfortunately flew out to the warning track against Miller. So Cal, for the first time really all year, looked pretty dialed in today, and obviously a lot of the hustle and all of that from Cal. That's going to kind of get lost in the shuffle here. So, yeah, we talked about why is the offense struggling? It's because Julio and Cal have been bad, period. And those two guys were good today. And they had 4 hits between them. They only technically had 1 RBI between them, but they walked 3 times. Cal was on base. Cal was on base all 4 times. Well, 4 times in this one. Julio was on base 4 times as well. And it just makes everything so much easier. When those two guys in the middle are hitting, Randy Arozarena could have his worst game of the year, and you could still put up 9 runs.
Yep.
So yeah, it's very cool to see Julio. It is kind of funny. First game out of T-Mobile Park, and Julio has this day. So
yeah,
there's gonna be a lot of questions about see, they get out of T-Mobile Park and they can hit, and it's like, I mean,
well, we'll see tomorrow. We'll see Sunday. We'll see what happens with those.
Robbie
games.
on the bump tomorrow.
Yeah, but I mean, I said it yesterday. I would like to see this offense, what it looks like outside of T-Mobile Park, and in the first 11 innings outside of T-Mobile Park, so far so good. They were excellent today. So
yeah, and I mean, really, the Mariners' offense has been good to great in 3 of the last 4 games.
It's just they're hitting the hell out of the ball a lot
for the most part.
Yeah, they're
not
making
against
a ton
Miles,
of,
but everybody else.
Yeah, but they're making a ton of hard contact in general. And unfortunately in Seattle, they weren't rewarded for it more often than not. Today, actually quite a bit.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, it didn't feel like
Oracle Park isn't known as a hitter's paradise either. We should mention that. So
no, and it didn't feel like there were a bunch of cheap hits in this one. It felt like most of the hits were pretty squared up.
Yep.
And again, just ton of good at bats. Even a lot of the outs were loud outs or they were long counts, and so the Mariners looked fantastic. If you're Edgar Martinez, who ironically is not with the club, I don't believe he was. I don't believe he traveled.
He doesn't go on road trips. I mean, but, I think they said that it might be select road trips that he goes on.
Well, I mean, you would think a 3-game on the West Coast would maybe be one. I don't know if he was there or not today, but if he wasn't, that's kind of funny. But I'm sure he's feeling pretty good about what the boys did today. And the pitching, kind of a one-off. You kind of look at just how everything kind of fell into place today, and you kind of go look, should we worry about this? No, because hopefully Luis F. Castillo made his first and final start for the Mariners this year, but we'll see.
So what do you do now with that spot? I mean,
Logan
Evans, but also Logan Evans didn't look particularly good last night.
I don't care
either. Yeah, I mean,
I have to go with stuff. That's my shot.
Yeah, that's the shot that I would take still. But there's no guarantee that that's going to go any better than the other 2 guys have gone.
No, it's not. So. it's about stuff. Like I had to give myself the best shot to win that game. And, honestly, I'm sorry. Jonathan Diaz doesn't have the stuff. Emerson Hancock doesn't have stuff. Luis F. Castillo doesn't have stuff, and so like, yeah, I at least if I go with Logan Evans, I get a really good slider and a pretty good curveball and a fastball that usually generates some fastball value. Like at least I have that. And at least I have a guy that I feel comfortable is going to go 4, 5, 6 innings instead of 2/3 of an inning and 3 innings, so that I can actually save the bullpen a little bit the next time around. So yeah, I'm going Logan Evans. And by the way, this one of the dumber things about, actually using this slot for a number 5 starter is that this slot now has to pitch against the Astros.
Well, it was either the Astros or the Rangers.
Rather,
you do have the off day in between the series, though, in between the Astros and Rangers series, though. So,
yeah, but then your number 5 spot, who would not be George Kirby, would have only had to start 1 game. Now they have to start 2.
Well, everyone is pushed back a day.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that matters. But yeah,
and then again, you have the off day after the Castillo spot comes around.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, you really need some innings from Miller and Wu, and hopefully they give them to you. But this Giants lineup is got some thumpers in it, and Wade's very good against lefties. Chapman's on a roll to start the year. Ramos is on a roll to start the year. Obviously, Yastrzemski's good against lefties. So, not the easiest lineup in the world to pitch to, but I do like our chances much better with Bryce Miller and Brian Wu getting through this lineup than I do with Luis F. Castillo.
Yeah. So tomorrow we'll see what moves they make. It is a night game. It's the only night game of the series. So they will have some time, and at least they're not far away from Tacoma.
Yeah, they're in Reno.
Are the Rainiers are in Reno? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're still not super far away. So that's an easy trip for whoever to
Casey Legumina.
Yeah, I would keep an eye on Legumina. I would keep an eye on Drew Pomeranz. We'll see if they want to send down Castillo. That would mean that they would have to then start a different person, or just skip that spot, or run a bullpen day. Same thing, like we
another bullpen day.
About with
that one would be before an off day. So it makes a little more sense, but
same thing we talked about with when we were wondering who was going to take the ball in this game.
Yeah. Just remember though, if it's not, because Danner was DFA today for Castillo,
and it can't be Diaz,
right? So if they're going to call up 2 guys from the bullpen, one of them probably has to be Legumina, and if they don't want to make a 40-man move, then the other one kind of has to be Will Klein. But if they want to make another 40-man move, then Pomerantz, which would make sense, especially if you're sending Saucedo down. We know that they want 2 lefties in the pen. So yeah, Pomerantz, Fujinami, a couple other guys to keep an eye on there. But they're going to have to make at least one roster move. To me, Sauce for Legumina is the easy one. But we'll see if they want to make a second one, and that's where things get potentially a little more interesting.
Yeah, and if that corresponding move is sending down Luis F. Castillo, and they're not going to skip that spot in the rotation, and they're not going to go with a bullpen day in that spot in the rotation, then to me it should be Logan Evans. Again, just go with stuff. I'm not trying to sell Logan Evans as like this surefire thing. He's not. But watch them go like Soren Lau or whatever.
Yeah. Casey Lawrence time.
Yeah. Honestly, maybe.
I mean, technically, they would be able to call up Emerson Hancock to make that start, wouldn't they? 10 days.
Oh yeah. So it might be Hancock.
Casey Lawrence.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, I don't know when Hancock's supposed to pitch. So that would also give us an indicator there. But we'll see what they want to do. But they're going to have to make at least one bullpen move. Again, Legumina for Saucedo is easy. You don't have to make a 40-man move. Just a straight swap.
Yeah, but if you want another lefty, again, Drew Pomeranz. I know that requires a 40-man spot, or a 40-man move, but whatever.
I mean, you're not losing sleep. Yeah, you're not losing sleep DFAing Jonathan Diaz or Castillo or I don't know. I mean, I'd rather not. a DFA Bizardo, but he and Vargas are out of options, and they're also kind of low on the totem pole. So we'll have to see.
Yeah. All right. Well, sorry this episode came out so late. Again, it's been a hell of a night trying to even get this thing set up. Sorry for the video and audio quality, but whatever. We'll be back in our regular setup, or I will be back in my regular setup on Monday. Colby, however, will be on the road like all week next week. So we'll see how that
Not
goes.
on Monday.
Oh, not on Monday. Oh, okay. But Tuesday through Friday, he'll be on the road. So we'll see how that goes.
By the way, Feldman Selson already 2 hits and an RBI tonight in Modesto.
Hey, there we go. And Laz went yard.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Ty Pete made a nice play.
Ooh.
I saw Harry Ford had a double in a sacrifice fly.
There we go.
Ground ball down the third baseline. Didn't exactly drive it, but whatever. They count.
We'll take it. We take those.
Yeah. We take those. So yeah, it's been a day. Goodbye.
It has been a day. That's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.